You're listening to 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective Podcast. A new era of East Carolina football is here and will begin on August 31st when Mike Houston leads the Pirates into action at NC State. Between now and then, join us for a daily trip down memory lane as we experience Pirate football through the words of the men who made those memorable moments happen. Here's your host, Bubba Rosenbaum.
As we continue 50 Pirates in 50 Days, thank you guys so much for listening to it, a big hit, and to help us bridge our coverage from the summertime until the first game against the NC State Wolfpack on August 31st. Our last one will be August 30th. Bubba, we have a very special guest with us today.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to catch up with a former Pirate quarterback from 2015 and 2016. He had to sit out 2015 after transferring in, but was the starter in 2016, Philip Nelson. Philip, welcome in the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on. Let's just start off. Let's talk about how you got to East Carolina. I know you began your career at the University of Minnesota. You performed very well there, and I know you were a Minnesota native. So talk about that.
Yeah. So, I was very blessed and fortunate to get to play my true freshman season and sophomore season at Minnesota. Obviously we played against some pretty stiff competition in the Big Ten. Got some meaningful minutes in there, and I think I played in 19 games, started I think about 15 of them, so I was really blessed and lucky, to have that opportunity. But at the same time, I felt like I wasn't really developing quite as much as a passer as I wanted to with the scheme that we ran and the coaches that we had, and so I wanted to get on the move there, and after taking a look at a couple places, I saw Shane Carden, how many yards he was throwing for, how many times they were slinging it, and I ended up at East Carolina, initially with Ruff, and, I was really excited to get in that offense, but of course I ended up playing for Coach Montgomery, but still, I was able to sling the rock, 40, 50 times a game sometimes, so that was kind of a good thing for me where, in Minnesota I was probably throwing it, 15, 16 times a game.
Talk about the process with you seeking East Carolina out. Tell us what you can as far as that was concerned, and a guy like Ruff and McNeil, and then of course I guess you had Lincoln Riley who had just made the decision to move on to Oklahoma, and Coach Dave Nickel taking over as OC.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was a funny story. Is my one of my friends' dad works with. I'm sure you probably recognize this name, but Rob Cass's dad, and Rob Cass was a quarterback for for ECU, I believe, around like the 2008 years.
Right.
Or so.
Right.
And so. All of a sudden, I got connected with Rob Cass's dad, Dave Cass, and he said, "Hey, man, you really gotta, I've been, following your career in Minnesota. You should really take a look at ECU. They just Shane Carden just graduated. We have a quarterback competition coming up here, so take a look at ECU." And I made a visit out there. I got to see the facilities, got to meet Coach Nickel and Ruff, and after taking a couple of weeks to think about it, I ended up committing there. So
coming in prior to the 2015 season, like you said, Shane Carden had just departed. If I recall correctly, you were seeking immediate eligibility, correct?
Yes.
So when when everything went down, when Kurt suffered the knee injury in camp, of course Blake Kemp ended up being the starter because you'd been denied that eligibility. So that year, I'm sure you probably lit it up on scout team, and then in 2016 season, or actually during the spring, and then moving into fall camp, you won the job.
Yeah.
So talk about entering that 2016 season. So you did you did a heck of a job early on. I know that first game against Western Carolina, I just remember being so excited after watching your Minnesota film. I was like, this guy's a player. And so, and 28 of 32 for right at 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in the first game as a Pirate.
Yeah, that was a night to remember for sure. You know, it had been a long road to that point, and you know, obviously I was very disappointed, you know, not being granted immediate eligibility for the 2015 season. So that was a long wait, you know, obviously on scout team, and just trying to be the best teammate I could be during that time, and continuing to improve as a player, get faster, stronger, do everything I could while, you know, I couldn't play. But yeah, you know, then, you know, I just felt, you know, that much more ready for 2016, I guess. And, you know, yeah, I mean, we started off hot, you know, and I think, you know, just as the season went on, I think, you know, we had a few, you know, injuries that really held us back. I had a couple injuries, and, you know, and it seemed like there's a couple times there too where, you know, we just couldn't get, you know, a couple of those breaks. You know, we obviously felt like we could have won more than 3 games with that kind of talent that we had, but you know, it is what it is, and you know, that's I still had a great time that year as a Pirate.
You reference that hot start. Game 2 against NC State. They're coming in, very highly touted team under Dave Doran, and then you threw for right at 300 yards, completing about 75+% of your passes. And one of the plays that really stands out from that game that you made, we were going toward the boneyard, and it was a key. It was a 4th down conversion. I want to say it was either 3rd or 4th down. You faked a guy. I think it was a play action pass, and then they got some pressure, and you were able to make a guy miss to get the 2 or 3 yards we needed for the first down. Do you recall that play?
Oh yeah, I do. If I'm not mistaken, I actually think it was Bradley Chubb, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah. Yep. And then the following week, like you said, some tough things happened. Went down to South Carolina. You threw for 400 yards, threw the ball nearly 60 times, but unfortunately we had some red zone woes and some miscues that resulted in a 2015 loss. But I really recall you and Zay Jones hooking up. I think it was 22 times or something crazy that day.
Yeah, that was. I think it's funny. I believe we tied the record for you know, Zay having receptions in a single game, and I remember that specifically because I missed the throw where he was open. I should have made that throw. That would have been an easy completion. And I think also there was another play where Zay actually had a drop. So if we would have had one of those 2 plays, he would have broke the record. But yeah, I mean, like you said, you know, that was one of the most weird games I've ever played in terms of, you know, we just felt like we were dominating them, and every time we got, you know, inside the red zone or, you know, even inside 10, we just couldn't finish it off. And obviously some of those were errant throws by me. You know, but I couldn't, you know, our defense played absolutely lights out that game. And, you know, the fact that did we only score like 10 or 7 points or something like that?
We scored 15, but yeah, like you say, I think we had several empty trips in the red zone, be it fumbles or missed field goal, whatever.
Fumbles, interceptions, we had all that, and you know, even after that game, I mean, I remember we were so confident. You know, we were, you know, wow, we just, you know, we beat NC State. We whooped up on Western Carolina, and then we went in there and we should have beat South Carolina. You know, I think
right.
It started off through our year there, and you know, obviously then Virginia Tech was a whole different beast. But you know, it is what it is.
I think it was game 5. So after that Virginia Tech game, I'm pretty sure was when we returned home and had the game, I guess, conference opener against UCF. And that, unfortunately, earlier you referenced kind of how you got a little beaten up and suffered a concussion, I think it was, in that game. And I remember that was right down in front of the Murphy Center near where my seats are. And if I recall, it was a late hit, correct?
Yeah, it was. It was a late hit, and it was also a crown, top of the helmet hit, so that whoever that was got ejected. But yeah, that unfortunately, I mean, I've had concussions in my past, and I've never had one that bad before where I didn't actually even remember leaving the field. So that was a pretty serious one. And then I think we lucked out and we were able to. The following week I think was the hurricane, so we missed out on a game, which helped with obviously. The following week I played against South Florida.
Right.
That's what I went in there, and then I took another shot. I probably went in too early, but I took another hit to the helmet and had to leave the game. I remember that too. And then the following week was when we had the hurricane, and that allowed me to kind of get a little bit of recovery going, and then we played out the rest of the season.
Right. In that UCF game, I just remember this is something you're probably not even aware of, but this is for longtime Pirates fans, and this is something we've discussed on this podcast, and we discussed it with Marcus Crandall himself back. And he played in the early 90s, actually from 93 to 96, and he had to miss the entire 93 season after Game 2, I guess it was, because of a cheap shot against UCF. So as soon as that happened, that's immediately what I was thinking. I was like, here we go, UCF with another cheap shot, obviously not connected, but it's just one of those things you couldn't help but to think about because of who it happened against.
Right.
But so anyway, what are some of the favorite memories you have of your time at ECU besides those we've already discussed? I mean, not necessarily even on the field. It may be something related to Coach Ruff or Coach Mo, whoever.
Oh yeah, well, of course I love my teammates very much, and then we worked really hard together. We became really close. We were a brotherhood, and and I just remember our senior year, me, Zay, and JT Boyd got a house together, and we just had such a good time with all of our teammates there, just bonding. That was obviously incredible. And then, the NC State game, obviously was a huge win for us. And, really I remember going into that game, and I had no idea actually just how big this rivalry was. I had no idea, how, intense and crazy that was going to be, but I just thought that was so cool how, Bradley Chubb came out in the media and talked about how, ECU, that's going to be an easy win, and, Dave Doran had his little comments to say too, and so then to actually go out there and win, and that was the day before my birthday too, so I had a whole bunch of family and friends out there, man. That was an incredible game, and of course one of my favorite memories from ECU for sure.
Hey Philip, I remember your teammates calling you. Speaking of teammates, the nickname for you was Sunshine. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we definitely had, I know, Sunshine early on, like you said. As far as the overall experience with East Carolina, I want to get your take too on. I know that now Coach Mike Houston. I wanted to ask you about that, but can you talk about because you lived it? Can you talk about the practice time at East Carolina? What was that like? Under Coach Mo.
Practice time, like on the
like what happened on the field? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, during camp, I know that we, I believe during camp, we were only able to have a couple of two-a-days. We didn't have very many two-a-days. But yeah, I mean, we got out there, and I think I want to say we were out there about an hour and a half or so. But I just remember, with that offense, with Coach Mo, we were trying to, be really fast and snap the ball quicker than, the defense could get aligned. And so that required a whole lot of conditioning. So I just know that whole summer, man, even though I was a quarterback, and, we had, running backs and linemen, whoever. I mean, that was some of the best shape I've ever been in because of how much running we had to do and how fast we wanted to play. And, and I think, we practiced very hard. We definitely practiced very hard. And so, I guess that's what I remember from practice.
So, Philip, after your career at East Carolina had concluded, I know you had the opportunity to play in one of the collegiate bowls, the NFLPA, I guess, NFL Players Association Collegiate Bowl. So talk about that experience, because I know it was actually played in a soccer stadium, and that's what I was able to watch a lot of that ball game.
Yeah, no, that was an incredible experience. I think my head coach was Mike Marks, and my quarterback coach was John Kitna there, and so obviously I made that connection with them, and they really believed in me, and they had my back through a lot of stuff, and obviously the NFLPA game, I think it kind of, it helped raise my stock because I was so, banged up towards the end of the year. And, and I think obviously the injuries, played a part in, why, I wasn't able to get as many looks as I, should have gotten. But, after that bowl game, I was able to obviously go to the Browns and the Bengals mini camp. I got signed up in Canada. And then eventually it all led to the Alliance, the AAF, and that's where, I reconnected with Mike Marks and John Kidna again with the San Diego Fleet. So, that collegiate bowl really, obviously helped me out because they believed in me so much that they were willing to go out and get me in the Alliance. So.
Yeah, that's something that I actually wanted to ask you about. Created a nice segue with me, or for me, with that, as far as Mike Marks, with his background, with the greatest show on turf, I guess, coming in there after Dick Vermeil, and everything he did with the Rams and Kurt Warner. That had to be awesome to get such high praise from him. He said something to the effect of, "Philip can be a starter in this league. I'm convinced of it."
Yeah, he probably, Mike Marks and John Kidna have probably had the biggest impact on my career that I've out of anybody, and getting around them and being around pros that have succeeded at that high of level, I can't really even put it into words. The amount of attention to detail that that they coached me with, and I think, in the college game, of course, there's a whole bunch of attention to detail, and as the higher you get, in level of football, there's, of course, more details, and, and even, since, being with Coach Marks and, John Kidna, I was able to go into, Cowboys rookie mini camp this year, too, and I kind of just compared, everything I had learned, from Marks and Kidna. And the attention to detail with everything in terms of, where to go with the ball, footwork, so many different things that go into playing the quarterback position. I was, I think, I'm not a 6'5", 240 guy or anything like that. So where I really make up my, that where I make up my ground there is through attention to detail, and and I really took their coaching to heart, and I really worked at it very hard, and I think they saw that, and it allowed me to actually get some playing time this year with the Fleet, and it's made a tremendous impact on my career, and especially as of course a passer. So I'm so thankful to have that opportunity, and especially to make those contacts, because they truly made me into that much better of a player.
You talk about that experience with the San Diego Fleet. I remember a specific play that was pretty much went viral on social media, from what I recall. Had a ton of retweets and likes, and was it a play? Did you throw it? I'm trying to recall now. Was it a flip over your head or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, it was the old flip over my head.
And what did Coach Marks have to say about that one?
Oh, man, he's a very intense person, and so I was waiting to get my butt reamed, and I just came off to the sideline. He just looked at me and he was like, "Don't do that again." So but it's funny because actually a series before I got flushed out of the pocket, and somebody tripped me up and I took a sack, and he got on me hard about taking that sack. So this time around, I'm outside the pocket, and I feel somebody grab onto me, and I'm like, oh, I can't take a sack. So I was convinced that I was throwing the ball overhead out of bounds safely, and all of a sudden I get up and they say, pass completed to Gavin Escobar. I was like, no way. And, I didn't even have time to really process it until after the game and how, viral that had gone. So it was funny. I promise I didn't try to do that.
So unfortunately, the alliance didn't work out, and the league came to an end after 4 games. So, but like you said, that experience certainly benefited you because now I'm sure the way you performed in that and the relationships that you built earn you an opportunity with the XFL.
Yeah, absolutely, and I got to. Obviously, at this point in anybody's career, it's really about getting game film and getting meaningful game film. And one of the biggest things I actually didn't even realize until a couple of weeks ago. But one of these things I realized was that the San Antonio Commanders, all 11 starters on their defense, are signed onto an NFL contract right now, and I got to play against them twice. So, just hearing something like that just makes me, obviously believe in myself and kind of know, hey, I really can do this at this level. And, and getting that film obviously was a huge reason why I was able to get a tryout with the Cowboys and go to rookie mini camp, and which is a huge reason why I'm still in contact with NFL teams right now, so. Obviously, it's a cutthroat business, and there's not really much you can do but kind of wait by the phone and stay ready, so you don't have to get ready when your time comes. So, right now, obviously, we're 1 week into preseason, a lot of movements happening throughout the NFL, and, I'm just staying ready, and, if nothing happens there, I'm confident that something should happen with the XFL, and I think they're having a draft here in early October, so we'll figure out some more answers here soon.
Philip, you've been very generous with your time. Lastly, I want to ask you about in that 2015 season when you were forced to sit out after transferring in. Donnie Kirkpatrick, one of the Pirates' wide receivers coaches and then recruiting coordinator, that's what he's returned under Coach Mike Houston as the offensive coordinator. So talk about Coach DK and then how you think he'll do, and then how you think the program is going to do down the road under Coach Houston.
I'm really excited about this coaching staff. First off, I think, I think of course everyone can come out and say that they're going to do it the right way, but I've been kind of keeping up with everything, and it seems like Coach Houston has done everything. His whole career he's done it the right way, and he's built up other programs, obviously, and did he win a national championship, right? And,
right. At FCS at JMU, he only lost something like 6 games in 3 years, and he won a national title his first year, and then his second year he played for the national title and lost to North Dakota State.
So he, and obviously North Dakota State, man, they're a great program, and so the fact that he was able to, build up that program to that type of a level is incredible. And, and obviously, Coach DK, he's seen some pretty good. He's coached some good receivers and tight ends here at ECU over the years, and so he has a proven track record, of course. And he was the offensive coordinator for Coach Houston, right, at JMU. So,
right.
I think he's in, a really good situation, a good coaching staff, and just looking at ECU's schedule this year, I think there's a lot of games that we should win, and I think that obviously through recruiting and developing our players, I think we have a good shot to have a really good team this year. So I'm really excited for the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I certainly think we'll be a lot more competitive, and like you said, looking at the schedule. Unfortunately, whatever happened with Virginia Tech when we couldn't go up there last year, made the decision not to go up there, which in my opinion was the right call. But I'm sure there were mistakes on both sides, so that led to a second SES game in William & Mary being on the schedule. But I think the Pirates will probably win at least 3 games, if not more, in the month of September. I really believe so. And
absolutely.
And I think that I like our chances of having a winning season and maybe getting to a bowl game.
Absolutely, I do too.
But Philip, we really appreciate your time. We'll continue to follow your career, and we'd love to have you back on down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And go Pirates.
That concludes this edition of 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective. Remember, join us daily between now and game day as we'll talk Pirate football with players from various eras. All these interviews are available exclusively on SoundCloud and our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe and follow so you're alerted when we post new content. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, go Pirates!